Howdy. Looks like we're back. 1 month later. I was just looking to see when I did my last podcast, and it was April 23rd. And today is May 23rd. It's a Saturday. I just took a little hiatus there after finishing the second volume. Got the 40 chapters of the memoir behind us, and I should say welcome. Welcome to the Colonel and the Kid podcast. It's back. At least an interim podcast is back. I don't have a chapter today. I'm just going to go through. I'm going to list out the future chapters, the next 20 chapters, and then got some other stuff to go from there. I just wanted to stay in practice. It's been a while since I've done a podcast, and see if I can remember how to get the software up and running and do some other stuff. And it was so funny. I sat down to, call up the software, which is online through the Chrome Google browser I use, and it's called Riverside. And I'm like, what is the name? What's the name of my podcasting software? And finally, Riverside. So I'll sort of type Riverside, and then it pops up, and I was able to click on it and get going. But it's like, that's what happens. You take a month off, you forget. So we'll see how it goes. Probably gonna be a short podcast today. Try to get at least a half hour, but don't know if I'll make it that long. So anyway, howdy and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Greg Heitmann. And this is a podcast dedicated to my grandfather, Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr. And it's based on the memoir that I've written about my relationship with Grandpa, as I called him. A lot of people call him the Colonel, but I was a kid. So he's the Colonel, I'm the kid in the podcast and in the memoir. And so that's the way it is. That's how I got the name. That's super creative and outstanding name of the podcast and memoir. I invented that. So I guess I'm proud of that. I don't know. I guess. But anyway, we're back. We're back podcasting, and hopefully hopefully I can get this out and uploaded today. And I think it's basically, as I've roughly calculated, I think every time I do a podcast, not counting the writing of any of the memoir or anything like that, but just reading a chapter in and talking about my other little things. And when I first started, we had the NFL update and stuff like that. So it'd be about an hour and a half podcast at the most, here and there. Editing and doing all the other stuff, get it uploaded, and then all the stuff all told, it was probably taking me like 3 to 4 hours to get done, finished up, and get it uploaded onto the internet for availability. So yeah. So right now it is just about 2:00. So by 6:00, hopefully this thing will be up and running and be out broadcast to the world. And then I'll go and look at my statistics and see how many downloads I've had. It's not a lot, but maybe I can report on that on the next podcast. So anyway, like I said, this is the Colonel and the Kid podcast dedicated to my grandfather, and that's my mom's dad. And she was Carolee Hagen, and it was Colonel Hagen, Lieutenant Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr. That was my grandfather. So this is dedicated to him, and hopefully, I guess, just recording some of the history, recording his life and how it impacted me, and just, I guess, preserving some of those memories for the future. But it's, that's the memoir and the Colonel and the Kid part. That's the spine of the podcast. But then I branch out and talk about other things. I have some recurring segments, and the memoir was mostly, I guess, mostly a preservation of the memories that I had of my grandfather. And you get older and things fade, and I don't know how exact these things are that I've written down and try to record and then speak them into the video and audio podcast, but, I'm hoping they stay preserved. But the funny thing for me too is it's also been my psychotherapy, just the writing part of it, just to be able to, I guess, relax and have some, I guess, what they call a flow state in your mind to be able to write and have, I guess, this sort of an unconscious, um, stream of consciousness type of documentation. So hopefully it turns out okay. I'm hopeful. But we do have the written memoir that I've typed up, and now we have, the video podcast, which is available on YouTube if you wanna watch that, or you can just listen on your other podcast delivery areas, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or that's all I know. I use Apple when I listen to myself talk about this stuff. And I usually do. I usually do listen to the podcast once it's published to make sure it's okay, there isn't too many problems. I'd listen to it actually, it's probably that'd be the second time I listen to it, or is it the third time? Because I'm listening to it now as I produce it, and then usually I'll listen to it before I upload it to make sure there's no huge glaring mistakes or errors or liability issues or slanderous issues that I might be projecting out there. So, and then I upload it, and then usually if I'm up for a walk or something, I'll I'll tune it in and listen to it at really high speed, just to make sure everything's going okay on the distribution end of it. So anyway, I guess we'll just jump into the actual the memoir part of it, the Colonel and the Kid memoir. And today, I don't really have a chapter to read in. I'm just going to go through the upcoming chapters, and so this is going to be the Colonel and the Kid, the memoir, volume 3, because we've already done volumes 1 and volume 2. Volume 1 is actually published on Kindle, so you can go in and buy a copy of that and download that and see all the photos that I've uploaded into the video podcast on YouTube. So those are available. I have not published volume 2 on the Kindle, and that'll be chapters 21 through 40. But today, here we are. This is the first discussion about volume 3 and the chapters 41 through 60. And then I have an epilogue, which is interesting. I'm not going to really talk about the epilogue too much until I'm actually there, because then I'll discuss some of the discoveries that I just fell upon, and it really unlocked a lot of key stuff for me. A lot of key, interesting psychological studies that they've done associated with the maternal grandfathers. It's fascinating to me. I should have probably put it up sooner, but I thought it'd be too distracting. So I'm saving it for the very end and go out and end the third volume with just a flourish, as I'll call it. But let's just talk about the volume 3 chapters that are coming up. So chapter 41, the title of this chapter is The Pheasant Hunt Part 3. So, and this one's done. I'll categorize them. I'll mention them. And I think this is the order I'm going to record them and discuss them. And then I have a note here whether it's done or not. It's completed. And I do have some chapters that I've put in here to get to that magic number of 60 chapters, 20 chapters in each volume. And so I do have some incompletes here, but I'll go through these and hopefully they make sense. I did spend some time trying to figure out what's done and what chapters I renamed, because I did some reshuffling and I changed some chapters in volume 2, and I hope I hope this list is correct and accurate, and I don't have duplicates or anything else along those lines. but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful I put in that work. It was kind of just tedious going through to make sure and comparing titles of the other chapter of chapters in the other volumes and making sure that I'm not duplicating something or have left something out, whatever. So I'm cautiously optimistic that I'm on track. And again, I think my projections have been to finish this summer, maybe bleeding into the fall, but we'll see. So again, chapter 41, The Pheasant Hunt, part 3, and that is completed. Chapter 42, The Christmas Times, part 2, also completed. Chapter 43, The Poetry, completed. Chapter 44, The Heart Attack, completed. Chapter 45 is called The Elk Hunt, and that is done. And I will mention that is my elk hunt. I mean, um, that was my first successful elk hunt that I recorded, and there's an association with Grandpa in there, so I won't have a spoiler alert on that, but it's a good chapter. It's a long chapter. I think I really went into some detail there, so hopefully it's entertaining enough. And actually, I look at that chapter as one of the chapters that I might solicit, like American Hunter from the NRA, one of the NRA magazines, or maybe even the American Legion. I think I've talked about that, where I think one of my potential fulfillment of goals of this whole memoir is to get it published or have chapters published in hunting magazines, or like the NRA magazine or the American Legion magazine, just to, I think, to honor my grandfather and pay tribute to his service, his military service, and just, have it on record and share it with other people. It's sort of the inspirational idea of the life lessons that Grandpa imparted to me and his other grandchildren, and just, I guess, maybe just doing public service to the world of trying to share some good ideas that Grandpa had, and impart them to people. But oh, by the way, I think I wanted to mention this is Memorial Day weekend in May here. So on this next Monday is Memorial Day. So it's, like I said, Saturday, May 23rd, tomorrow, the 24th. And then Monday would be May 25th, Memorial Day. So very, I guess, appropriate day to get back on the podcast trail here and keep moving forward. So anyway, that's on the plan here. Chapter 45, the elk hunt, and that's completed. Chapter 46 is called The Snow Goose, and that's completed. Chapter 47, The Christmas Times, Part 3, that's completed. Chapter 48 is called The Shaving, which is, when I say the shaving, it's like the grooming and trimming of your facial hair. And I guess for those of you just listening, if you're not watching the podcast, I'm shaved. I mean, I've not completely shaved down to bare skin here, but I have a 5 o'clock shadow. But I shaved my beard and mustache, and also shaved my hair off. And see, I got my summer haircut, but I am wearing the O'Farrell hat, as I guess I've come to know it as the podcasting hat. So it's covering up my short hair. And actually, the hat felt a little loose because I had such short hair when I put it on earlier. But I don't know if I think you can see the O'Farrell advertisement over there, right there in the floor. There's the hat box. So I shout out to O'Farrell Hat Company and here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, providing me this hat, and I'm hoping to win another one in the future. We'll see. We'll see. I think I talked about with the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. That's where I won this hat, and it's awesome. I love this hat. It's pretty cool. Anyway, that's the shaving chapter, talking about Grandpa and shaving, and And it made me remember to talk about that. Those of you not watching the video podcast, you're missing out on my clean shavenness. I look like I shaved 10 years off my the way I look because of my white beard. I guess you can kind of see my white stubble still, but otherwise I probably look much, much younger, probably unrecognizable to people that don't know me without um having gotten used to seeing me with a beard and mustache and maybe longer hair. But oh well. Summertime. It's May. It's been pretty hot actually for the most part until about the last 3 or 4 days where it's cooled off a little bit. And it's actually a little cloudy out and few scattered thunder showers in the area. So we need some rain. That'd be awesome if we did get a thunder shower, and maybe I'll lose power and lose the whole podcast, but it'd be worth it. We're in a desert. We need the moisture. Anyway, so we're up to chapter 48, the shaving, and that's completed. Chapter 49, the daughters, part 3, that is completed. And chapter 50, it's called The Last Pheasant Hunt, and that one is done. And chapter 51 is called The Oryx. And maybe you don't know what an oryx is, but it's also known as a gemsbok, and it's an African antelope. And what they've done here in New Mexico, they imported some of them and they put them down on the White Sands Missile Range, and you can have some special hunts to go hunt them. And I had a special hunt in 2019. Yeah, where you apply to hunt on the White Sands Missile Range, and I had already harvested my once in a lifetime hunt when you can shoot any oryx that you see out there. And the second hunt that I had in 2019 that I've written the story about, or this chapter is about, it's for a broken horn oryx. And they're a pretty big animal. They're probably about 400 or 500 pounds. But the tag that I had, it had to have a broken horn or missing a horn. And they just want to cull them from the herd because they're just not not a useful animal for their hunting that they market to people. And so I had a pretty interesting hunt on the missile range, and actually went down the area, included the site where they call it the Trinity site, where that's the first test of a nuclear bomb ever took place. And so I got to drive by there during the hunt. And spoiler alert, I did harvest an oryx on that hunt, but it's a great story. It's kind of a long chapter and interesting. And I, I harvested that in 2019, and it was, like a dozen years after Grandpa had passed away. But I wish he could have been alive so I could have told him this whole story and shared the photos and stuff. And it's a very special hunt for me in my mind and memory. So I really enjoy my own writing and rereading of the story. So look forward to that. And that's chapter 51. And that's coming down the home stretch here in this volume 3. And chapter 52, I have a chapter called The Knives, and that's completed. I am very curious and interested to read that again because I don't really remember what what I wrote about that. Although I do have one idea that I think I briefly touched on this in some of the World War II discussions in previous chapters, but I'll save that for the future. Chapter 53, another hunt of mine, so to speak. It's called The Bear, and that is completed. And just a little background on that. It's a bear hunt. It was actually it was an elk hunt, but I was carrying a bear tag, and I did harvest a bear. And that was the same year as I got that oryx, the broken horn oryx, 2019. It's already 7 years ago. And it's kind of a longer chapter too, talking about all the stuff. And I really enjoy that memory and rereading my writings of the memory and stuff. And I won't talk anymore about that. I'll save that for the chapter when it comes up. Chapter 54, I have a chapter called The Expert, and I have it marked here as done. I'm pretty sure I don't have that done because uh, I think the expert just came to me as an idea in the last few weeks when I was, because I was short a few chapters here when I was trying to get to 60. So that came about, and I haven't marked as done. Maybe maybe I haven't marked as done because in my mind I know what I want to write about, but I don't think I've typed a word of that chapter. So kind of false advertising there that chapter 54 is completed. It's not, as far as I know. Chapter 55, The Christmas Times, Part 4, and I have that marked as completed. Not sure what exactly that is, but I know I did have some, that first chapter in volume 2 about the Christmas times, part 1. I think I talked about that, just how enjoyable Christmas times were as a kid with grandpa, and I ended up having 3 more of those chapters to talk about. just the just the enjoyment of being a kid and getting toys for Christmas. I mean, just I was gonna say the meaningless toys, but no, they weren't meaningless to me because I think it helped fuel my imagination and creativity of just the creativity part of using your imagination to build these worlds and play with these toys and practice your future successes, I guess, because everything when you're playing with toys and stuff, I don't know. For me, everything was always awesome. Everything was successful, and you didn't like if you have like a Tonka truck or something like that, you never had problems. Never failed to have a battery go dead and have to get a jump start, or have a flat tire and have to deal with changing the tire, taking the tire to get it fixed, or anything like that. It was always successful. So I think that was very important. Um, Important part of Christmas to me to get gifts that help inspire creativity and imagination to be able to play as a child. And I think maybe that's part of becoming an adult that's maybe missing is you don't get to play anymore. You just have to do adult stuff. So, which is less fun. I don't know. A lot of psychology here still for me, and when I start talking about this stuff, and I think in the future there'll be more stories I'll have to share. Maybe less about Grandpa, specifically about Grandpa, but more about my life. I do have some ideas that I want to write down and share. So I mean, I don't see the podcast ending anytime soon, or any chapters just drying up and not having something to write about. They're going to be there, and I think I think I'm optimistic about being able to go forward with this stuff and having things to share with modern society, tips and highlights and I don't know, just self-help self-help suggestions, I guess, as they say. Anyway, that's a lot of expansion on chapter 55, The Christmas Times, part 4. I think that's the last of the Christmas times that I write about. Maybe something will come to me and I'll have Christmas Times part 5 in the future. Never know. Chapter 56 is called The Flyers, and I'm not going to have a spoiler alert, but it was a spin-off of a chapter about that was part of the Daughters chapters, and I pulled it out of the Daughters and called it The Flyers. And you'll see why that happened when you get to that chapter. I'm not going to spoil it, and it'll make sense. And that's complete. And then I have a chapter here chapter 57 called The Spirits, and that is not written. And I think it's mostly based on, I guess, the focus is more visual and discussion about all the whiskey decanters that my grandpa had and my own collection of decanters that I purchased later. And just the idea of, I guess, alcohol and whiskey that was part of growing up grandpa's household. Not that it was a focus or anything or a big deal, but it was just always interesting. And it's not like grandpa had all these just plain old whiskey bottles or wine bottle, whatever it was. he had these decorative decanters on shelves, and I have a whole bunch of them now here in my house. Some on display, some not, some still in boxes, but that chapter is not written. It'll most probably be mostly photos and just discussion about where they were, and hopefully to be displayed in the future on shelves in my house here, and just have some um, good memories and nostalgia that goes with it. When you're walking through the house and you happen to glance up and see something like that, see the decorations you have, it's like, oh yeah, that's a good memory. And the idea that it's weird to me that that grandpa handled them and held them, and just the idea of anything like that that's historical in your mind, or your or family heirlooms or anything like that, that your ancestors had those things, and now you have them, and you can enjoy them, at least enjoy the memory of them and the good times that were. I guess I look at, there's in in particular, there's a couple that I think of, because there's one decanter that was the uh, Royal Mounted Canadian Police, and they have that red, big bright red uniform, and they have the flat kind of like drill sergeant cap. And I know Grandpa had one, but then I think he had an extra one that he gave to my dad. So my dad had one in the house. Every house we lived in, it was always on display on some shelf or something like that. And I think I have both of them now, if I'm not mistaken. So I think I have two of those. It's just, it's just they're sort of, I guess they're artwork in a lot of respects, as little statues, little ceramic statues, and just to have just to have them survive this long is just amazing to me. That I guess they're considered like porcelain. I mean, it's porcelain glass as decanters, whiskey decanters, and it's just, there's a lot of interesting things, and I'll get that written up and available at some point here, but probably mostly just photographs and discussions, descriptions of the old decanters. And that's chapter 57, The Spirits. So chapter 58 is called The Fort, and that's completed. And that the fort is Fort Siston. And there's a lot of, I think I've talked about that probably quite a bit already, because of my own historical fiction novel that I wrote about Fort Siston, Dakota Territory, and that was the setting of that historical novel, um, historical fiction that I've added in there. But I want to go in some detail about Grandpa's relationship with that, with the fort, and his whole dealing with that. And I think I talked about that, and the politics also mentions the fort. But I have some historic photos of the fort, and they had a big. I can't remember what it was, their 75th anniversary or something like that. They had a big, huge celebration, and Grandpa took a lot of photos, and there's a whole bunch of photos that I share in that chapter. So it's a good one. And then chapter 59, I have a chapter called The Arts. And I mean, this could, it's sort of semi related to the spirits. Might touch on that a little bit, maybe just to have a call back to some of those, you know, miniature pieces of art, little miniature statues, those decanters. But mostly this is the arts, and this isn't completed yet. I still have to work on this. Um, Mostly probably related to some of the artwork that I've done over the years, and mostly the paintings, because I gave Grandpa a painting. I painted it when I was a senior in high school, of a deer, you know, similar. It's not Sam the deer, the big deer that Grandpa shot and had on his wall, but it came from the cover of an Outdoor Life magazine, I think. Had a painting, and I kind of just basically recreated a larger scale copy of that painting with acrylic paints, and my mom and dad had it framed, real fancy frame on that thing, and that hung in Grandpa and Grandma's house for 87 until, well, I don't know, I guess, well, 2007 was I think when my grandpa passed away. So I mean, he had it for 20 years. And now my mom has it, but so there's some other artwork that I'll highlight, document in there. That chapter's not completed. So I really have it looks like I have 3 chapters that need to be finished, but I can be working on them and then starting the podcast up again with ones that I've done. I'm not advancing some of the other chapters right now because they need to be edited, and my editor, Gwyneth Gwyneth Duncan, she's busy. She's finishing up. She's going to be retiring here at the end of June, but she's got a lot of work to do with her job. So she's kind of been putting the stuff that I've asked her to do on the back burner, and I totally respect that. I don't want her to feel any obligation to doing work for me when she's got her own business to take care of and get wrapped up. So um I don't know. I don't know if she'll be completely out of commission until the end of June. I think June 30th is when she's getting her last working date. So that's still over a little month away. She might do a couple if I asked her to get maybe a couple chapters done, so I could do one. Maybe I could have her do 3 chapters editing. I don't think it would be too much to ask from her. I say that I'm committing her to some easy editing. We'll see. I may do. I still have to edit these myself before I would share them with her and make sure they're good to go. So we'll see about getting that done and get back on track to a weekly podcast for the chapters to finish out. I think I'm going to try to do that because time slips by so fast. I mean, we're going to be done with May here, and I sort of unofficially committed to trying to get this done this year, and time is getting away from me. I took a month off, as I mentioned, so it's I don't know, got to be more hard nosed, get on the job here, get things cracking, crack the whip on myself to get this stuff done because it doesn't do itself. No one's doing it for me, so I guess I better. If I want it done, I'm gonna have to do it, and I think that's the most obvious statement a person ever could make for this situation. If you are writing your own memoir and you don't write it, it's not going to get done. Yes, I think that's correct. Very true statement. Captain Obvious, they call me sometimes. Anyway, chapter 59, The Arts, to be completed. And the final chapter, chapter 60, it's called The End. That's completed. I think it's a very appropriate title to wrap things up. And then we'll have the epilogue. I think I mentioned that. That's got some I just don't know how to describe it other than it's just I guess some information shared that I came across somehow on one of the websites that I follow called the website's called The Art of Manliness. And it's very interesting stuff and just about, I guess, maybe helpful hints for men in modern times. Because I think I don't know. I shouldn't be laughing about this, but it seems like men are being effeminized, if that's even a word. Men are becoming more effeminate because they're lacking skills of how to do anything. how to be effective or be, um, I guess the common term you'll hear people say is there's a complete lack of competency in people in general, but men in particular about being the being the man of the house or being able to do stuff, whatever. Just I don't know. I don't claim to be the most handy. I don't consider myself to be a handyman, but I think I'm capable and competent enough, basically, to manage my house for the most part. So and do other things in the in the world of manliness, I guess, hunting, it, those sort of things that are more associated with being a man. Anyway, I found this information, and it's it basically encapsulates the ideas that I guess maybe I was trying to impart here with the whole memoir of my maternal grandfather. There was a lot of data that they came across in a study about the effect of the maternal grandfather on grandchildren. It was just fascinating to me, and you can probably look it up. Maybe Google search if you want to get a head start looking at it. But stay tuned for that. I'll share that here in the near future as we wrap things up. And that's it. That's the future chapters to finish out the third volume of the Colonel and the Kid memoir and podcast. So there you go. Look forward to that. And if you can't wait, there's a huge demand. You want to just send me a message and demand the next podcast to the next chapter. Feel free to do that. Maybe that'll twist my tail to help me get things done. Provide some extra motivation for me. We'll see. So anyway, that's it for the memoir, Colonel the Kid podcast part. But I have some recurring things I want to talk about, and the first one is corrections. And it's been a month since the last podcast. I don't remember if there was any huge gaping errors that I could correct or should correct. So we're just going to skip that for today. The other recurring thing that I've done is the Teener baseball poster and promotion of the book. Where's that book? It's back there. It's laying back there over in this box. I'm going to reach back and grab it. But there we go. For those watching the podcast, I've grabbed the book and I'm holding it up next to the poster. And this is the Teener baseball book that I wrote, sort of autobiographical, somewhat autobiographical, I should say. A laugh-a-minute book. For those of you with maybe some sensitivities that you may not appreciate teenage humor, and politically incorrect statements from teenage boys, I don't recommend this book for you. But if you want you want to maybe have some laugh out loud comedy, I recommend the book for that. Which is, they say that laughter is the best medicine. Reader's Digest has advertised that for years. I don't know if there's any study behind that, actual clinical studies, but it probably is. So get that book if you want to heal yourself and have the best medicine, because it's should provide some laughter. But anyway, I bring this up because this is the Major League Baseball update for the Minnesota Twins, and I did look ahead of time and I got the record. They are 24-27 on the year. I think their next game it started. They're up 2-0 against Boston in Boston right now. So there you go. There's your up to date baseball score. And I am just shocked how the Twins are even hovering close to a 500 record. This is amazing to me, and being that they are so They are so lacking in talent. It is unbelievable to me that they're allowed to be considered a major league team. They're a good AAA team, but that's all they'll be. That's all they'll ever be. They're two of their starting players. I don't know if I would call them veterans. I mean, one is a veteran player with many years of major league service. Royce Lewis, he was their, I don't know, I don't know if he was an overall number one for the whole draft that year. Well, he was the number one pick for the Twins, whatever year it was. He might have been number one. He's just been so injury plagued and just not good. I mean, he's missed his window for being a good player. He was demoted down to AAA. And then one of one of their outfielders, Matt Wallner, and the most interesting thing about Matt Wallner is that he has a brother that's a Navy SEAL, and Matt Wallner was demoted to AAA, and they are just, they're both those Royce Lewis and Matt Wallner batting under 200, probably closer to 150, and I would venture to say that me at my age at 57, I could probably have a batting average near to their average than well, I mean, if you consider a zero batting average a batting average. I don't know. I think I could just go up there and stick my bat out and bunt for a hit once in a while and do just as well from the hitting perspective as they do at the major league level. And I pardon me, at the at the AAA level. Oh, I mean, it's just, I feel so bad for Minnesota Twins. I mean, historic Minnesota Twins fans and myself um, that there's just no chance. They have no chance of winning. And that is why I'll mention right here, I'm shopping for a new Major League Baseball team, looking to see who's out there and then who can recruit me to be on their team. You never know. Maybe I'm the guy that could be a fan of your team. Some NIL money towards my direction, and maybe you can recruit me to be on your team. Talking about you, Arizona Diamondbacks, Colorado Rockies. I don't know. Maybe I could be your next fan. So, I don't know. more sports headlines. Moving on from baseball. It's pretty good time of year. I'm actually enjoying it, and because it's the NBA and NHL playoffs, and people probably could make fun of me. NBA, NHL, those are stupid. I don't know. I don't really watch anything during the regular season for NBA or NHL, but the playoffs, it becomes super competitive. I mean, it's just some good competition displayed at both the hockey and basketball level. I don't care. I mean, there's a lot of people that just absolutely hate, and I was one of those people just despised NBA basketball for a long time. But I started watching the playoffs quite a few years ago, probably more when Steph Curry and Golden State Warriors were really, uh, really racking up the points and shooting the threes, and it changed basketball. It made it just dramatic. It was just, kind of all out, no holding back, no slacking off, taking it easy, run out the clock and just chuck up a shot. These guys are up and down. Good fun to watch, entertaining basketball. And that kind of got me into it. And it seems like every year since then, I've had more interest in actual playoff basketball because it flips the switch. It just becomes more of everything that you want to see in basketball. That competition level goes up. They'll play defense. They try hard. There's a lot of strategy in how the matchups go. I think the same can be said for the NHL playoffs, where the strategy changes and they just up the level, because I think it ends up being that they make a lot of money playing, but there's the honor in trying to be a champion in those leagues. I think it's such a big deal to them that they set aside their what should I say, the arrogance of their money making. It doesn't matter if you make money, if you're the highest paid player, hockey player, basketball player, or the lowest minimal contract player. These guys they're busting their butts to try to win. And I don't think that's true during the regular season, but in the playoffs, there's a lot of heart showing out there, and I respect that. So props to them. And so it's pretty good. We've got the conference finals for hockey and basketball going on right now, and they're pretty good competition out there. What is it? In basketball, Eastern Conference Finals, New York Knicks versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, and in the Western Conference Finals for basketball, it's San Antonio Spurs versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. So those are pretty good. And then in hockey, we have Colorado Avalanche and Las Vegas Golden Knights in the West. And then the East, it's Montreal Canadiens and the Carolina Hurricanes. So Canada still has a chance to win a Stanley Cup, which hasn't been done since, I don't know, and who knows, 20 years. Maybe it's been over 20 years since a team from Canada has won the Stanley Cup, which is got to be a complete embarrassment for Canada, their national sport, and they're not even very good anymore, relatively speaking, from the NHL standard level. Anyway, in your face, Canada. So I think we should move on to more sports update here, and that is the Vikings update. And the only Vikings update I have is Kyler Murray was signed by the Vikings to be quarterback. I'm guessing that I don't think there's a competition between JJ McCarthy and Kyler Murray. I think Kyler's going to probably just dominate and he'll take over that position. And I have no faith in them. And I think it's a terrible move by the Vikings to even sign and deal with that guy. Kyler Murray is not a winner, never has been a winner. And now he has become more fragile in his older years now. I don't know how long he's played, 7 years. And he's hurt quite a bit. He's shorter than me. It's like asking me to play quarterback when the average lineman height is probably like 6'4", and these guys at 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot cannot see over these guys and just are ineffective as quarterbacks in this league. So there you go. There's the Vikings update, and I can give you the draft update for the Vikings. I have none. I don't know anything about who they drafted, other than their first pick was like a defensive lineman that only played like 3 games for Florida last year because he got injured. And that's what the Vikings do. They get injured people because they don't want their players to play. So we'll see how that goes. I have no idea who else they got. Don't really care. And much like my Major League Baseball team, I'm shopping for a new team. I'm also shopping for a new NFL team. So again, if you want to throw some NIL money my way, you can recruit me to be a fan of your team. And I guess I was awarded an honorary Raiders fanship. So I'm leaning towards the Raiders and their brand new quarterback coming off a national championship and Heisman Trophy, Fernando Mendoza. So I'm an honorary Raiders fan right now for whatever that's worth. And we'll see if I get some swag just throwing my way or flowing towards me and get the silver and black. We'll see how that goes. Just win, baby. That's all I can say. That's a classic phrase, and I think it suits me to a T. Really leaning hard towards being a Raiders fan. And I know some people are going to listen to this. They'll be upset. It's a legitimate emotion to have right away, but you start thinking about it, it'll make sense to you. Maybe you'll come along. Maybe you'll ride my coattails onto being a winner from the NFL standpoint, because I've never been a winner in, as far as the NFL goes, and I don't know, likely never will be in my lifetime. That's okay. But I throw in there the Raiders have Tom Brady as a minority owner for the team, and that guy's a winner. So why wouldn't I want to be joining uh, a winning franchise, even though it's indirectly? I mean, Raiders have won Super Bowls in the past, so I mean, they are winners. And maybe you can just say I'm a front runner now, and I'm joining the front runner. But Raiders haven't won a Super Bowl since what, like the '90s, maybe something like that. I don't know, 30 years. So not like they're a front running team right now, as it is. But there you go. I throw that out there, and you can lambaste me if you want for my fickle fanship for the Minnesota teams. But I think I've talked about the problems in Minnesota. It doesn't reflect um my priorities anymore. That a great state of Minnesota has completely gone off the rails thanks to bad leadership, and yeah, they deserve what they get. Patheticness. If that's, I don't know if that's the word, patheticness. It should be if it's not. But anyway, this is sort of all connected because I have a segment here I like to call Big News, all caps big, all caps news, exclamation point. I am trying to buy a house in the vicinity of Elephant Butte Reservoir, which is it's about 200 miles south of Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I live. So Truth or Consequences vicinity, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Originally called Hot Springs, New Mexico, because it's got these famous hot springs there for spas and mineral soaks and stuff to help you get healthier, I guess. But I'm trying to buy a house down there to have a place to relax and go to hunt ducks in the fall and winter, because they have a long season here in New Mexico. I don't know what it is. I think last year was 95 days of duck hunting. And that's what I'm going to do it for 3 months, go down and hunt ducks. That's my plan. If I can find a house. I have an offer on a house right now, and I don't think it's going to work out, because I did have an inspection. There was a lot of problems that I didn't really like. So I revised my offer, and I told them, I said, well, this is my best and final offer, contingent on, it's got its own well, so that'd have to be inspected and pass inspection. But I will accept the problems of the house if they take my revised offer. I'm probably 90% sure they won't. So there'll be other houses I can look at and maybe buy down there. But this, that's the plan in the near future. I don't know if you want to call it a second home. I'm going to call it my primary home, because I have to for insurance and mortgage purposes. So that'll be my primary home, and that'll probably be my podcast studio and writing retreat, so to speak. So maybe I can say that I'm running my business out of there, if you want to call this podcast business, and my screenwriting and novelist writing career business out of there. We'll see how it goes. So I'll keep you up to date on that. It's kind of exciting. I've been down there, I think, on three trips now. Like I said, it's 200 miles away. It's like a good 3-hour drive, and it's the perfect desert landscape. I mean, just everything you think of when you think of the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote landscape. It just really appeals to me. I think because of that, growing up with Looney Tunes and Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner, and I just always enjoyed those cartoons as a kid and even as an adult. So anyway, that's the big news, and that's why it's connected to the other stuff, is because I'll be further south. I'm even closer to the Arizona teams, Arizona Cardinals and Arizona Diamondbacks and Phoenix Suns. Maybe those are gonna be my new teams. And they don't have a hockey team anymore. They used to be the Phoenix or Arizona Coyotes, I think they were, but they don't. I don't think they have that. I think they moved that team up to Salt Lake City or Utah. I think they're the Utah Mammoths now. So anyway, I may be getting some new teams. So I'm not going to rule out the Raiders as my team or the Las Vegas Athletics potentially coming up on my radar to overtake my historical team of the Minnesota Twins and Minnesota Vikings, but it's not a done deal yet. It could happen. It's going to be it's sort of your heritage to be a fan of those growing up, but I think I've lived away from South Dakota. I think I've for a long time I was the largest part of my life had been lived in South Dakota, but now I think it's flipped. So I think the most of my life, or the largest part of my life, has been um, away from South Dakota, and I think not the majority, but the plurality of my time living in a place, I think, is now in New Mexico, I believe. Not exactly. I'll have to look that up or do some figuring and make sure that that's accurate. So I think that's I don't know. I think I can justify it, rationalize my idea of leaving my teams and I guess it's tough because you separate yourself from the family then, because it's like, you're going on your own and getting your own team now, and you're just not that region anymore. You're not from that locale, so that's not your team. And it's I don't know, it's a lifestyle change, and we'll see if I can do it. I don't know. Nothing's in stone or cement yet, so we'll see. I think I'm gonna have to get some support from other family members to get there. Okay, I think they'll do it, but that's fine. Anyway, a quick music update. Of course, I think I mentioned this is Memorial Day weekend, so down here in the Coyote 102.5 KIOT, they're having their Memorial Day weekend. They call it A to Z of their library, so they're going through their song titles from A to Z. And I think right now, when I started this podcast, I think they were in the Fs. I think they started Friday late morning and then had a little break. And then now it's full on. They're going through their list and they're up to the Fs already. 24 hours a day, I think, through Monday evening. So they'll finish up Monday with the Z, the Z titles. I don't really, no classic rock songs that start with a Z come to mind right off the bat here. So, oh well, got some good ones so far. Maybe I'll make the list up. Maybe I'll see if I can get a hold of their list and then try to go through some of these songs in future music updates, just to fill in some time and have some commentary about music, which I like to comment about here and there. So look forward to that. I will mention that I've had some weird success in the past 2 months here, that I won tickets from the 102.5 KIOT Coyote 102.5. Won some tickets to New Mexico United, which is the local soccer team in Albuquerque. Won 4 tickets to that, and that was pretty cool. That's the first professional soccer game I ever went to, and they won. And we left early, beat the crowd. And then at the same time, for some reason, I think they made an error, but it may have been because I gave them some feedback because they were having one of the commercials they were playing was kind of glitching and it's blanking out. So I sent them a text saying, "Hey, you have a commercial for Red Shovel," which I enjoy their commercials. That's the reason it was affecting me, because it was like going blank for a while, but I enjoy their little comical ads on the radio for Red Shovel landscaping stuff. So I got tickets to Kenny Wayne Shepherd Band. They're on some 30th anniversary tour. They have one song that I know of called Blue on Black. It's a good song. I like it. I couldn't name any other song of theirs. So they have a show coming in June that I might go to because I have free tickets. And I think the tickets, I got 4 tickets that were for the soccer game. I think they were $30 a piece. So that was like $120 value. That's pretty cool. And I think these Kenny Wayne Shepherd tickets are about $50 a piece. So another $100 there. I just got 2 of those. So see how that goes. But that's your music update. And I do, I have a recurring segment here that I call "What the hell is going on out there?" Also known as crazy. And so this happened yesterday. I just, like, again, this is, I'm going to mention this is sort of my psychotherapy for stuff, and just so aggravating to me. And so the local grocery store that's just a few blocks away, and a lot of times I'll walk over, but yesterday I drove over during halftime of the NBA basketball game. And yes, some people are going to mock me for watching NBA basketball, but I was, in a rush because I wanted to come back and see the start of the second half. So I drive over to the store. I wanted to pick up something real quick that I was out of. Doesn't matter what it was. I mean, whatever. But anyway, I got in a line. I'm like 4 items. And they didn't have the self-checkout going. So I had to go to actual checkout line. And there was a young girl that was checking somebody out, but the light wasn't on the thing. So I asked, I said, "Are you open?" And she said, "No," she pointed at the light, "just closed." And so I went to the other line. There was probably someone ahead of me there that had 30 items, and they had them all on the conveyor. And so I had to wait. And I should mention that this is um, locally, this grocery store is catering to the Hispanic crowd, Mexicans, probably most of them, I'm guessing, not here even legally. And if you hear English spoken in the store, it's rare. It's probably 90% to 95% Hispanic, and probably, I would say, at least 85% of the language you hear is Spanish. So I'm standing in line behind somebody. It was a woman, with all these items getting checked out. And so I'm waiting. And so I see the girl, she has some other Hispanic guy comes up and asks if he can check out. And she starts checking him out. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I said, "I just asked you if you were open." And she's like, "Oh, sorry." And then the guy that was checking out on my lane for the cashier is like, "Oh, sorry, sir." And I said, "What is it? I'm too white for you?" And boy, that started a big dialogue in Spanish, which I couldn't understand because I don't speak enough Spanish. I speak such little Spanish that the only thing what I wanted to say was, "I'm too blanco to shop here." I said, "I am never shopping here ever again." And I said, "I'm just kidding, because I like to shop here because it's close to my house." And there was just this blah, 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 Spanish all over between the lady that was buying stuff in my lane and Hispanic guy that was checking her out and running the cashier for that. And then the young lady that had started checking out a guy after she she had said she was closed. And, oh my God, I was so outraged for just a moment. Then I thought, this is more hilarious than outrageous anger for me, because it's so true of what happens, where it's like discrimination against white people because they can. I mean, there's nothing I could do about it. It's like, what am I going to just, like, leave my stuff and walk out? And that's probably what I should have done. Just said, "That's it. You can put the stuff away." I guess if I could have done it over again, I would have done that and made a made a big deal about it. But they have security there, so I don't know if the security would have gotten involved. I think they didn't. The security never came over, so I don't think they said anything in Spanish to that guy. And I've never seen the security guy. I've seen him there. I've never heard him speak English. I've only heard him speak Spanish, so I don't know if he can even speak English. So it was so hilarious, and I'm glad I can remember to talk about this as in the special segment of what the hell is going on out there, also called crazy. So because it's just crazy, it's such blatant discrimination, and the only thing I think the guy that was the cashier at my lane, I I think he was um black and Hispanic, and I said, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Discrimination everywhere. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. That's all he said to me 3 or 4 times. Sorry, sir. Because he knew it was just so ridiculous. And I suspect that checkout girl was friends with the person that she was checking out and opened up her lane specially for them, even though I had like 4 items. Like she could check me out in 2 seconds, but she wouldn't. She checked out the other Hispanic guy. Anyway, there you go. That's the grocery store that's called Food King. That's the name of the store. Food King. Used to be called Lowe's, Lowes, which is very confusing with the Lowe's hardware store. And it's funny, they changed their name to Food King, which I like it because they have like an orange that's wearing a crown for their little logo on their lighted sign up front. And if you get a credit card receipt from them, it still says Lowe's on it, I think. No, actually I have one here. It does say Food King on the receipt. But I think maybe it's on the charge. Maybe on the bill for my credit card bill, I think it says Lowe's on it, which is confusing unless you know that you didn't go to Lowe's hardware store, that you went to the Lowe's grocery store, because it was formerly called Lowe's. Anyway, that's the story. That was it was a great a great a great fake outrage for me to be discriminated against. I love doing it, and I think I was upset, angry right away. I think I probably just got bright red too, because like I yelled at her. I said, "You just told me you're closed." And she's like, "I'm sorry, sir." It's like, what are you sorry about? Sorry that you're a liar? Oh my god, it was. I felt so. I felt so amused just walking out the whole time, just thinking, "Oh my god, I can't wait to tell this story to people." So anyway, that's my great story. So finally, this is the last segment, and I'm going to close her up. We made it over an hour today, so amazingly enough, here we are. The last recurring segment, and I call this verbal abuse, also known as abusive language. I really haven't settled on the title for this recurring segment. And one of the things that falls under this category of verbal abuse is glove compartment or glove box. What do you call that? What do you call it? Do you say glove compartment or glove box, or do you call it the console? Console is like the in between seats. Um, so I don't think it's called a console, but it's so funny to me. It's like that that little area that you open up, that's called glove compartment or glove box. I guess in the old days, that the derivation of the name, where you put your gloves in there, your driving gloves, like that was a real crucial piece of equipment that you had. Why wouldn't it be? Maybe it should have been the goggle box or goggle compartment, because they didn't have windshields back then, or maybe you definitely needed goggles so you can get bugs in your eyes or dirt or whatever. But you didn't need gloves, and gloves would be like a luxury item for driving. But anyway, I feel like self-conscious when I say that. Oh, put this in the glove box. It's like, well, why do I call it that? It should be the registration and insurance box, because that's what I put in there to keep it handy. And I think for a while I did have some gloves in there, some work gloves, but I think that actually I have like 3 or 4 pairs of work gloves in different places in my truck now, just because it seems like I'm always needing some leather gloves for something. So you got to have them, and then it's inconvenient to have to open up the glove box to get the gloves out and put them back in, because then you can't shut it, or they get caught in the little latch, or they won't shut. Or and I think I had some protective plastic glasses for, I don't know, I think just that's where I kept them for a long time, just for safekeeping, just in case of emergency. Like I think maybe for like um going out and getting wood with running chainsaw and stuff, I gotta have something in there, because you can't get something in your eye out there when you're doing stuff, because man, it could be long ways from getting help. Long, slow drive back with a painful eye if you had something in your eye, if you're using a chainsaw or something like that. So anyway, protect your eyes. Use the goggle box or goggle compartment in your vehicle to store your goggles. Anyway, that's it. That's the high note that I'm going out today. I'm going out on that beautiful, beautiful story of verbal abuse. But even better, I think to me, it's the discrimination, the rampant discrimination at my grocery store. When I should boycott them, but I will not boycott them, because I'm constantly needing bananas. So I walk over there a lot of times in the morning to get some steps in and get my bananas and walk home. So if I don't use them as a grocery store, then I'll have to drive. The nearest grocery store is probably, other than that one, which is like 4 or 5 blocks away. I think it's like a half mile away. And then so like a round trip back walking and and back home is a mile, I think, to that grocery store, Food King. And if I try to go to Smith's grocery, that's probably a mile and a half to maybe a mile and a quarter to a mile and a half away. So it'd be like a 2.5 mile walk if I walk to the Smiths. I'm not doing that. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to sign off. I'm back behind the mic for the podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And we have the sign off. I'll have to say, stay positive, be proactive and be positive and be assertive. Those are my kind of the 3 B's I like to say. Be assertive, be positive, be proactive. Those are the things I implore you to do in your life. I think you'll enjoy your life more if you're taking the bull by the horns. That's what I like to say. I don't know if I've said that before on the podcast, but take the bull by the horns. When you're wearing a cowboy hat, you're obviously a man of rodeo skills, being able to take a bull by the horns like I always do. So do that. Be assertive, be positive, and be proactive. So you take the action, and I'll leave you with this. Knock, and the door will be open to you. Seek, and you'll find. Ask, and you shall be given. That's it. That's the end of this podcast for this week. Hopefully we'll get back in the saddle and be repeating these once a week here for a while and get this wrapped up this summer. Colonel and Kid podcast memoir, available on audio and video and in written form on Amazon. So there you go. Have a great day. And as always, we don't say goodbye. We just say, see you later. Take it easy and see you next time.